All right, get on your back, feet on the floor. Take a few breaths. Big toes together, heels apart, knees touching. We're gonna tuck and tilt the pelvis. Tuck and tilt. On the tuck, the low back presses to the ground. The tailbone is lifting up. You feel your abs contracting. On the tilt, you feel an arch on your low back and your tailbone is going down and back. Squeeze the front, engage the front, engage the back, stretching the front. So we alternating. Here we squeeze the front, we stretch the back. Here we engage the back, lengthen the front. So that's our tuck and tilts. Similarly, we can work with the ribs to set up our torso. We're gonna call this pinning the front ribs. So we're gonna contract the muscles that pull the lower front ribs down towards your pubic bone, and that way your middle vertebrae are also pressing. The tuck helps you press the lower vertebrae, the lumbar spine, and the pin of the ribs helps you pin the middle spine to the ground. Should feel like a strong engage here on the front side. Work on the chin being tucked in for the back of the neck long, and try to keep your shoulders down, pinned to the ground instead of lifting up. Just keep them back, squeeze your rhomboids. Tuck the chin. So we got tuck and tilts. We got pinning of the ribs. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna hold both of those actions and then lift the pelvis off the ground to engage the low back. So you can feel this, again, toes together, heels apart, knees touching. If you lift your hips off the ground into the bridge, you feel your low back extensors engaging, even your mid extensors engaging. So in this position, what we're going to do is avoid hyperextending or overextending. So we're going to, again, pin the ribs and tuck the tailbone. Feel your front, feel your core. Pin, tuck, pin, tuck, pin, tuck. Feel the front. And as you lift the hips, you're going to feel your low back as well. Just breathing here. Pin, tuck, shoulders down, chin in. You can have your arms to your side. Palms face up will be ideal. Breathing deeply here and just checking your cues. Big toes together, knees together, squeezing. You can try to lift the hips as high as you want, as long as you're keeping your ribs pinned, nice and pinned, and your tailbone tucking. Front hip flexors, rectus abdominis, and then the extensors on the back. So we're brace on the front, brace on the back. We're gonna take a breath in here. And then one vertebra at a time with the knees together the whole time. We're going to slowly lower down. And we're gonna go back to our tuck and tilts. When you're tucking, exhale. When you tilt, inhale. When you round your back and press your vertebrae, exhale. When you lift your low back, try to do this ones without your ribs coming out of position. So try your best to keep that engagement of the pin throughout the tucks and the tilts, instead of letting the ribs pop up and the torso come up into overextension of the mid back. Keep your mid back pinned, pushing down, and isolate your low back. We're trying to gain mobility on the low back, stability through the front, Do that a couple more times with the ribs pinning, tuck and tilts. And then we're gonna come into a tucked position, engage in the front, press in the vertebrae, and let's see if we can isolate the pin. So you're gonna pin your ribs and then release the pinning. Let your ribs go in a little bit higher into that overextension, but keep the tuck. Isolating the tuck, ribs pop up, ribs pop down. Just basically extending and contracting your mid-back while keeping your tailbone tucked the whole time. So tension on the front, on the lower section, and then you're gonna open the upper section. Just isolating, getting used to contracting. You can relax. Let's try that one more time. Toes together, heels apart, knees together, tuck, tilt. And then we're gonna try to lift the hips up and keep the tension on the front. So again, onto the bridge. Check the shoulders. Pushing down, shoulder blades together. Keep the chin tucked in, lift the hips. Pin and tuck, pin and tuck, pin and tuck. Tension on the front, engage in the back as well. So in a moment here, we're gonna go face down. I want you to think about these two actions, the tucking and the pinning, throughout the whole time that we're face down, extending the spine. So here we're extending the spine. On the bridge, we have tension on the front. When we go face down, it's gonna be the same. We're gonna still tuck, still pin, and try to lift our heads off the ground. So when you're ready, take a big breath in. And exhale, one vertebra at a time, lower down. And bring yourself face down. So first things first, toes together, heels apart, knees together, knees on the ground. The toes are going to be floating off the ground. We're not bending the knees real high. We're just going to keep the toes without any weight on them. And make sure that you're flexing, not pointing your toes back. Instead, flexing your ankle. Knees together, knees stay on the ground. Here, the whole time, the hips are going to stay on the ground. We're never going to really be lifting the hips all the way up here. Okay? So, first, hands to the side of the ears by the head. Chin is going to be down, forehead on the ground to start. Focus on the tuck and tilts. Tuck and tilt. Tuck and tilt. Moving the pelvis. You're going to press your pubic bone to the ground and then lift it up. Tuck your tailbone down and lift it back up. Try to do it with your hips staying on the ground instead of some big movements when you're jerking your hips up. Just keep it on the low back. Again, not into the mid back, into the low back. So we're breathing here, back of the neck long. Make sure those toes stay close to the ground, but without any weight. If you want, when you're tucking, you can squeeze your glutes as well. When you tilt, you engage the lower back extensors. When you tuck, you're engaging more of your hip flexors, your iliacus, and your psoas. So we're keeping it just tuck and tilts. And now we're going to work on the upper section, the pinning of the ribs. So pin the ribs, release the ribs. The whole time we're tucking with the tailbone, hold the tuck, pin the ribs, release the ribs. You could do it with your forehead on the ground, or you can do it with your head lifted a little bit. We're still holding weight on our hands, so still isolating. Okay, relax your toes down for a second. And now what we're going to do is go into the extension. So big toes touching, heels apart, flex your ankle, knees squeeze, knees on the ground, hips on the ground. Tuck the tailbone, pin the ribs,
Look straight down. Very important here to keep the back of the neck long, not looking forward. Tuck the chin in, lengthen the back of the neck. If you're tucking and pinning and lifting the head, looking down, that's good enough. If you want to lift the arms up, that's great. You can squeeze your shoulder blades together, lift the elbows up, but make sure you're tucking and pinning, looking down. If you happen to still be overextending your mid back, then you can try to bring your arms forward, and that'll make it harder for your back to hyperextend. Look straight down, breathe deeply, and when you're ready, just relax down. And then very slowly, you're gonna tuck your tailbone, keep it tucked, pin your ribs, and then press yourself up and back to a child pose. Big toes together, knees wide. Very gentle here, just breathing. Bring your palms together into a prayer position and your elbows closer to your head. Breathing here. You can bend your elbows, bring your thumbs to your back, tuck your chin in. So here we're simply just stretching the back extensors and the QL. Stretch arms again, and then just walk your arms. Slowly walk your torso towards the right side, stretching more through the left. And breathe deeply here. One big breath. And on the exhale, come back to center. Reset the spine here. And then walk your hands and bring the torso towards the left side. Breathe deeply, stretch the right low back, mid back. Big breath in. And bring it back to center on the exhale. We're gonna try that one more time. So again, on your belly, legs straight back, hands to the side of the ears. Big toes together, heels apart, flex your ankles, toes off the ground. Knees together, squeezing together, hips on the ground, forehead on the ground. Tuck your tailbone, pin your front ribs, lift your head up, breathe here. It's okay if you want to keep your hands and forearms and elbows on the ground. Just make sure you're doing the triple tuck. Tuck your tailbone, tuck your pins, your ribs, and tuck your chin in. And then if you want to lift the arms, maybe send them forward. You could even have your arms way back if you want to make it a little bit easier with your palms face down. Kind of like you're flying like an airplane, but even farther back with your hands, so it's easier. The more your arms go forward, the more weight, right? But if you have your hands back and your palms down and you're like hyperextending, maybe trying to look forward, then it's much better to just look straight down. Maybe bring your arms back to the sides. Check toes together, heels apart. Knees together, squeezing down. Tuck, pin, lift, tuck the chin. One more big breath. Bring it down. Keep tucking, pin your ribs. Bring yourself to a tabletop position. And we're going to do a little bit of cat-cows here, but first, just the lower section, tuck and tilt. So flexion and extension, just lumbar spine. The torso, the head are not moving. And then bring the lumbar spine to neutral and do cervical. So look straight forward, tuck the chin in, inhale, head up. Exhale, head down, tucking in. So this is cervical, we did lumbar. And then we can do thoracic, so extension and flexion. So this would be our pinning of the ribs, right? The first one, the tuck and tilts on the low back. The neck, we're not really working with much on this one, but we got the pin the ribs, release the ribs, that's your thoracic extension. Okay, last thing, we're gonna go on our backs again. Take a few breaths here. Big toes together, knees together, arms to the side, palms face up, tuck the tailbone, pin the ribs, tuck the chin, lift the hips into the bridge, knees together. Breathe in here. Tension in the front, engage in the back. Can squeeze your glutes if you want, shoulders down, chin down. Big breath in. Exhale to lower down, one vertebra at a time. Okay. Right leg crosses over the left, arms out to the side, palm face up. Keep the shoulders on the ground, slowly send the knees to the right. Very gentle here, just letting the weight of the legs do the work and focusing on the breath primarily. Just a couple more breaths here. And then a big breath in, exhale, come back to center. And we're gonna uncross and switch sides. So left over the right. Slowly legs go to the left side. Keep the shoulders down. Deep breaths here. Couple more big breaths. And with an exhale, come back to center. Uncross. Toes together, knees together, tuck and tip. Tuck and pin. Lift the hips up. Keep the tension on the front. Big breath in. Exhale, roll it down. And last thing here we're gonna do is with the knees together, with the toes touching, with the heels touching, and the hips on the ground, we're going to tuck, we're gonna pin, and we're going to simply do slow windshield wipers with the knees from one side to the other. So we go from feet on the floor with the legs squeezing together to the legs squeezing and then moving to one side. One foot will naturally come off the ground. Now the trick here is that I'm tucking and I'm pinning the whole time. I'm not stretching like I just did on the twist. Now I'm contracting the core and just working a little bit through the obliques here. Tuck, pin, side to side. Try maybe 2 more times on each side.
just come back to center. Very gently bring your knees to your chest, hug them in, do a little side to side, rocking side to side, and then back to center. Feet on the floor, legs straight out to the sides, arms out to the sides into Shavasana. Take a big breath in, exhale, and just surrender to the floor. Letting go of your body's weight, letting go of the control of the breath, letting go of any attachments to any thoughts, just simply watching the breath, noticing the weight of the body resting on the ground. Remain as still as possible. Avoid the urge to move even a little bit. Just keep bringing your attention to your breath, noticing the heaviness of the feet, the legs, the hips, the torso, the shoulders, the arms. Keep watching the breath. One more minute here. The way we'll come out is slowly bringing the attention back to the breath. Lengthening inhales, lengthening exhales. Moving fingertips and toes, ankles and wrists. And when you're ready, bend the knees, roll onto your side, and press yourself either back to seated or up to standing. All right.